Pro Savings Days are back at Lowe's with limited time savings on the supplies pros need. Get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, save an additional $100 on every $1,000 you spend on select major appliances. And don't miss your chance to activate and earn 3 times the points on select DeWalt and Klein tools. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/28. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for more details on qualifying items.
For 50 years or more, the Presidential Management Fellows Program has brought promising young people into the government. Now the Trump administration has canceled it. That's not sitting well with my next guest, among others. He was a Presidential Management Fellow who did pretty well. New Jersey Senator Andy Kim joins me now. Senator, good to have you with us. And let's start with your reaction to the cancellation of the Presidential Management Fellows Program that does go back so many decades.
Well, I have to say, when I heard about it, sadly, I was not surprised because, we've seen so many other actions that go after people in public service and civil service. But it just brought a lot of sadness for me. I mean, I am somebody who benefited from the Presidential Management Fellowship. That is how I was able to get converted into a career civil service. And I saw it as one of the best tools that we had to be able to bring in young talent into the U.S. government. And I was so proud to be a part of that. And some other PMFs are some of my closest friends. We've come up through government together. And so it wasn't just about me individually getting a chance to serve, but being part of a class and a community that was able to support each other, to encourage each other to take on different jobs and to try to continue on in public service. It just was very clear that this is an administration that doesn't respect federal service, doesn't respect public service, and does not understand why it's important for us to continuously bring in top talent into government. So that was a deep sadness that I felt when I heard that news.
Might be a good point at which to maybe get a little quick summary of your own history, because you were a civil servant. You worked in a couple of agencies that have been also hit kind of hard by the Trump administration, USAID and so on, and you have an unusual way of getting to where you are today as a senator.
Yeah, look, I mean, I was somebody who, started up at, USAID as an intern initially, and then got a paid job, was there during the Bush administration, and I served under the Obama administration as well. But as I said, as somebody who was career track, and as many people know, like sometimes it's hard to get your foot in the door when it comes to working for our government. I don't come from a political family. I didn't know anybody who worked in federal government when I was younger. So when I was trying to figure out, like, how do I try to find my way in? I was somebody who did a lot of training, a lot of education. I was a Rhodes Scholar. I was a PhD in international relations. But when I tried to figure out how to get into government, again, it's challenging. So, the PMF program was critical for me to be able to find a place to be able to get in. I was a PMF at State Department. That's where I converted into. And as a result, got to work there at the State Department, had opportunities to be able to work in other departments and agencies, including out in Afghanistan, over at the Pentagon, at the White House National Security Council, and really was able to develop up my career very quickly in that vein. And yes, I'm one of only a handful of former civil servants now in the U.S. Congress. And as a result, having been a GS scale government employee, I have a lot of respect for our public servants, but also I have a lot of frustration and frankly anger at how they are being treated right now.
And I guess it's worth noting too that you are the first American born of your family, so your parents only emigrated here 50 years ago.
50 years ago, yeah. Yeah, they immigrated 50 years ago, and, again, didn't know anybody in the entire Western Hemisphere, planet Earth, when they came here. And so it was very much for me, like, I was full of pride that I could serve this country that has given my family opportunity, given us a chance to be able to be here. And I'm proud that I'm the very first, Korean American ever in the U.S. Senate, and trying to show that everybody has a shot at serving this country. That, and I think that that's something I still hold really inside me as somebody that does believe that serving our country isn't just for certain families or certain people from a specific kind of background. Federal service should be for everybody, and I think bringing in that type of talent is important.
We're speaking with New Jersey Democratic Senator Andy Kim, and you and other senators, other members of the House, even on the Republican side, in some cases have expressed dismay at some of the presidential actions with respect to USAID, Education Department, career civil servants, probationary employees, and now the Presidential Management Fellows. But will you do anything about it? Because it doesn't seem like anything is really gelling in either chamber to maybe statutorily change what's been done.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when we first heard about the attacks upon USAID, I went out there that day to the Ronald Reagan building, and it was a powerful experience. I walked through those doors the very first time I showed up to work 21 years ago, and was remembering how proud I was to walk into the Ronald Reagan building at that time. And this time around, they had a guard who was instructed to tell people that they cannot go to work that day, that they're not allowed in the building. And so immediately I went and tried to engage as many of my colleagues as possible on both sides of the aisle, talking about how, look, even for the Republicans, it's USAID was in the Ronald Reagan building for a reason. Is because for a long time, we had understanding in a bipartisan way that USAID is not charity. It is about promoting our interests as a nation and advancing our foreign policy. So that's something that I will continue to push on and continuing to try to get my colleagues to engage on, as a number of them, including, frankly, former Senator Marco Rubio, when he was a senator, talked about USAID as not charity, as something as part of our foreign policy. So that gives an example of some of the things we're trying to shine a light on, as well as supporting the litigation to try to get USAID and other aspects of our federal government back up and running. But, for instance, another action that I'm trying to take right now is when I saw the PMF program get cut, especially since that is a program that was set up through an executive order. It was not something that was codified by Congress in the same way that USAID and the Department of Education and other entities were. That is something that we clearly need to fix. So, I have been just immediately since that day, I immediately turned to my team and said, let's start drafting legislation to be able to reinstate the PMF program by virtue of statute of the federal government and Congress. So that's what we're doing. We have drafted legislation. I'm now starting to engage some of my colleagues about this. I'm hoping that we can get this in a bipartisan way to be able to talk about why it's important that we have talent come into our federal government, that we bring in young talent, young people who want to be able to serve. And in particular, I'm tying this into the fact that we are about to approach our 250th anniversary as a nation right now. I really do think that using that 250th anniversary is hopefully a chance where we can recommit ourselves to this country, recommit ourselves to this shared project. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use it to boost up and try to usher in a new era of public service. And just sort of say, that's something that we need to engage on. If we're worried about tribalism and partisanship in our country, then the answer should be about, trying to recommit ourselves to, the nonpartisan professional civil service that I was proud to be a part of. So yes, I want to, I'm putting